The new discoveries here at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre happened during a recent restoration around the tomb of Jesus. That's when excavators dug below the original level of the 4th century church.
After centuries of searching across the world, scientists believe they've finally uncovered compelling evidence pointing to the true location of Jesus' burial site. What they found inside the tomb offers powerful new insights, clues that may finally help answer questions that have mystified believers and historians for generations. So, where exactly was this tomb discovered? And what unexpected secrets were waiting inside? Could they have even found Jesus' remains? Join us as we dive into this groundbreaking discovery and explore what it could mean for our understanding of history and faith. Recently, researchers made an astonishing find at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, right in the heart of Jerusalem. This ancient church has long been one of Christianity's most sacred destinations, drawing pilgrims from around the globe to its hallowed grounds. According to the New Testament, Jesus was crucified at a place called Golgotha, translated as the place of the skull. Historians believe this was once an old stone quarry located just outside the walls of ancient Jerusalem. But something significant happened roughly 10 years after Jesus' death. A new city wall was built, and it enclosed the site of both his crucifixion and burial within Jerusalem's boundaries. That's why today, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre stands within the old city walls. And it's here, at this historic site, that researchers may have finally brought new light to one of the greatest mysteries in Christian history. Emperor Constantine I, who famously converted to Christianity, made a bold decision. He ordered the demolition of a Roman temple dedicated to the goddess Venus in Jerusalem. In its place, he planned to build a grand church. During the construction, something extraordinary was uncovered, a tomb that many believe to be the very burial site of Jesus. Today, when pilgrims visit the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, they begin their journey by ascending a staircase from Jerusalem's ancient main street, known as the Cardo. From there, they pass through several sacred areas, starting with the narthex, moving through the basilica, and walking through a garden believed to contain the rock of Golgotha, before reaching the heart of the site, the Holy Sepulchre. Originally, this tomb, cut directly into rock, was exposed to the open air, but later, a small protective structure was built around it. Over time, the entire church complex became richly adorned, something that was recorded by Eusebius of Caesarea, Constantine's biographer. These decorations are also visible in early Roman artwork from the 5th century and on the famous 6th century Madaba mosaic map. Modern archaeological work has confirmed just how elaborately this holy site was decorated. In the year 326, Constantine's mother, Saint Helena, made a pilgrimage to Jerusalem. According to legend, during her visit she made a remarkable discovery: the very cross on which Jesus was crucified, later known as the True Cross. By the early 400s, stories of this miraculous find had spread far and wide. By the 11th century, a cave beneath the church ruins became known as the Chapel of the Invention of the Cross, marking the legendary site of Helena's discovery. However, the church didn't remain untouched by conflict. In 614, it was destroyed by invading Persian forces, who also seized the True Cross. But in 631, Byzantine Emperor Heraclius managed to negotiate its return, restoring a powerful symbol of Christian faith. After the Arab conquest of Jerusalem in 638, Christians were initially allowed to practice their faith peacefully, enjoying a time of relative tolerance. But about 300 years later, things began to change. One major shift was the conversion of the church's main entrance into a mosque. In 966, a fire, sparked by anti-Christian unrest, caused serious damage to the church's dome. Then, in 1009, the Fatimid Caliph al-Hakim ordered the complete destruction of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Despite this devastating blow, Byzantine Emperor Constantine IX Monomachos stepped in to help rebuild it. The reconstruction included some changes, such as a new entrance on the church's southern side. By the second half of the 11th century, this newly restored church once again drew pilgrims from across the Christian world. For much of this period, Muslim leaders generally welcomed Christian pilgrims and treated them with respect. But in 1077, When the Seljuk Turks took control of Jerusalem, troubling stories began to spread, accounts of Christian pilgrims being harassed or denied access to the holy site. These events became a major catalyst for the First Crusade, which unfolded between 1096 and 1099. When the Crusaders finally captured Jerusalem in 1099, eyewitnesses described a powerful moment. Survivors of the battle praying in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, which still had no roof at the time. Over the next 5 decades, major renovations were undertaken. Though the original structure's layout was preserved, the church was redesigned to mirror the style of Western cathedrals. The surrounding garden was transformed into what became known as the Crusaders' Basilica, and a separate chapel was created to honor Golgotha. The church was officially rededicated on July 15, 1149, exactly 50 years after Jerusalem was taken by the Crusaders. Construction, however, continued for several years beyond that. The church's appearance today still reflects much of that medieval rebuilding. To accommodate the growing number of pilgrims, new measures were put in place to help manage foot traffic. This included twin doorways, which are still visible today. After an earthquake in 1927, some of the church's original carved stone lintels, through which ancient pilgrims once entered, were moved to the Rockefeller Museum in Jerusalem for preservation. When Muslim forces retook Jerusalem in 1187, one of the church's entrances was sealed off. Still, Christian pilgrims continued to come, and Western leaders worked out agreements with Muslim rulers to maintain access to the site. The church remained protected for centuries, until archaeologists made a remarkable discovery. While examining the tomb believed to be Jesus' burial place, they found something astonishing: ancient mortar beneath the stone slab where Jesus is said to have been laid. The dating of that mortar traces all the way back to the time of Emperor Constantine, lending new weight to the site's authenticity. Unveiling Jesus' tomb. This extraordinary discovery offers powerful support for the long-held Christian belief about the location of Jesus' burial. History traces the story back to Emperor Constantine, the first Roman emperor to embrace Christianity, who, along with his mother, Saint Helena, is believed to have discovered Jesus' tomb around 325 to 326 AD. Motivated by a divine vision, Constantine set out on a sacred mission to find Jesus' final resting place. Their journey led them to Jerusalem, where they identified a Roman temple, possibly one dedicated to the goddess Venus, as the site concealing the tomb. This ancient temple, a relic of Roman religion, was carefully dismantled, revealing something far more sacred beneath, a hidden tomb believed to belong to Jesus Christ. As they dug deeper through the layers of history, they uncovered a cave-like tomb carved from natural limestone. The moment its interior was revealed marked a turning point in both history and faith. The upper part of the cave was removed to expose what many now consider one of the holiest places in Christianity. To protect and honor the site, a small structure called the edicule was built over the tomb, preserving its spiritual and historical significance for future generations. Constantine's mission, and the discovery that followed, show just how deeply faith, history, and the search for sacred relics are woven together. This powerful story has lived on for centuries, blending historical fact with profound spiritual meaning. Inside the tomb, one key feature draws attention: a long, flat shelf known as the burial bed. According to tradition, this is where Jesus' body was laid after his crucifixion. Beyond its physical presence, the burial bed holds deep theological meaning, representing the stillness and hope at the heart of Christian belief. What's especially fascinating is how the tomb's design closely matches those of wealthy Jewish families from first-century Jerusalem. These rock-cut tombs were typically carved from strong limestone and included similar features, like shelves and niches, showing a shared respect for the dead across time and cultures. The burial bed itself, while simple in appearance, carries immense symbolic weight. It stands as a silent witness to the events that define the Christian faith. Covering the burial bed is a slab of marble that adds another chapter to the tomb's story. Believed to have been placed no later than 1555, and possibly as early as the 1300s, This marble covering reflects the passage of centuries. Accounts from countless pilgrims over the years help fill in the historical gaps, each visitor leaving behind a trace of devotion. Every mark in the stone, every curve of the bed, holds echoes from the past. This tomb isn't just an ancient structure, it's a sacred space that has inspired prayer, wonder, and reflection for generations. It invites all who enter to step into a living story, one etched into stone, carried through time, and forever held in the heart of faith. Scientific discoveries. Let's explore the fascinating scientific research behind the tomb believed to be that of Jesus. Under the guidance of Chief Scientific Supervisor Antonia Moropoulou, a team of experts studied mortar samples taken from various parts of the edicule, the protective structure that surrounds the sacred tomb. What they discovered was truly remarkable. This ancient mortar, rich in history, became the focus of their detailed analysis. By using radiocarbon dating, the researchers were able to examine the age of the materials from different sections of the edicule. Their goal? To uncover the hidden timeline embedded in the very fabric of this revered monument. One of their most important findings was that the lower slab of the edicule was likely cemented in place during the mid-4th century. This time frame strongly supports historical accounts linking the construction of the edicule to Emperor Constantine, the first Roman emperor to convert to Christianity. This link not only deepens the historical significance of the site, but also gives scholars powerful evidence tying the tomb's origins directly to Constantine's era. For historians and archaeologists, this confirmation is a major breakthrough. It places the edicule within the broader story of the Roman Empire and Christianity's early growth. Once just aging mortar, these samples now offer a tangible connection to the people and events that shaped this sacred place. To make these discoveries, the scientists used an advanced technique known as optically stimulated luminescence, OSL. This method determines when quartz sediment in the mortar was last exposed to sunlight, allowing researchers to precisely date the materials. The samples were studied in 2 independent labs, each contributing valuable data that helped build a clear timeline of the edicule's construction and restoration phases. Through this technique, researchers uncovered new questions. Could the modern structure we see today really be the same sacred site that Roman officials identified nearly 1,700 years ago? Even with a few uncertainties, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre continues to stand as a powerful symbol, inviting believers and historians alike to explore the deep connections between faith and fact. Further studies focused on mortar from the southern wall of the tomb, helping to piece together a timeline that connects key historical moments. Samples dated to around 335 AD, just after Constantine's time, and 1570 AD, when a major restoration occurred, reinforce the long and complex history of the site. These layers of mortar are more than construction materials, they're records of centuries of devotion, transformation, and preservation. Interestingly, the southern wall revealed signs of Roman-era workmanship, supporting the idea that parts of the original structure have survived through time. With precise dating methods, scientists were able to trace the efforts of various builders and restorers over the centuries. One particularly significant finding was the mortar from the tomb's entrance, which was dated to the 11th century. This matches a critical period in the church's past, when the edicule was carefully rebuilt after being destroyed in 1009. This adds yet another piece to the puzzle of how the site has evolved while still holding onto its sacred identity. In the end, these scientific discoveries offer more than just data. They breathe life into the ancient story of the tomb. They show us how layers of history preserved in stone and mortar continue to speak to us across time. These discoveries highlight the deep dedication of those who, over the centuries, worked tirelessly to protect and restore this sacred site. The careful reconstructions, especially during the 11th century, reflect not only architectural skill, but also heartfelt devotion. Studying the fragments of the edicule doesn't just reveal their age, it honors the craftsmanship and faith of those who helped preserve this holy place through time. Unraveling the mystery of Jesus' tomb. Today, the tomb continues to draw millions of pilgrims each year. It's maintained by clergy from various Christian traditions, all following strict rules that have been in place since the days of the Ottoman Empire. But while the Church of the Holy Sepulchre is widely accepted as the traditional burial site of Jesus, there are actually 6 other locations in Jerusalem that some believe could be the real tomb. One of the most talked-about alternatives is the Talpiot family tomb, located about 5 kilometers south of Jerusalem's Old City. Discovered in 1980, the site remained relatively unknown until it made headlines in 2007, thanks to the Discovery Channel documentary The Lost Tomb of Jesus, produced by James Cameron and directed by Simcha Jacobovici. Inside the Talpiot tomb, archaeologists found 10 ossuaries, stone boxes used to hold bones, with names inscribed on them like Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. One box, labeled Mary Amin, was thought by some to refer to Mary Magdalene, leading to the controversial theory that she may have been married to Jesus. The presence of other inscriptions like Jude, son of Jesus, and Jesus, son of Joseph, sparked speculation that Jesus and Mary Magdalene may have had a child together. However, many scholars urge caution. Names like Jesus, Joseph, and Mary were extremely common in first-century Judea, so their appearance in the tomb doesn't automatically prove any direct connection to the biblical figures. Critics believe that Cameron and Jacobovici may have stretched the evidence too far, interpreting these common names in ways that support their theory. Supporters of the Talpiot theory point to DNA tests conducted on the remains. These tests suggested there was no maternal relationship between the individuals labeled Jesus and Mary Amin, which some interpreted as support for the idea of a marriage. But skeptics counter that the DNA evidence could just as easily reflect other types of relationships, such as father-daughter or grandfather-granddaughter. Biblical scholar James Tabor offers another twist. He suggests that the ossuary inscribed James, believed to belong to James, the brother of Jesus, might have originally come from the Talpiot tomb. To support this idea, chemical tests, funded by Jacobovici, were carried out, comparing trace elements from the James ossuary with the soil found in the Talpiot tomb. The results showed some similarities, hinting at a possible link. Yet not everyone is convinced. Some scholars have questioned the reliability of the chemical tests, noting issues like the small sample size and the fact that the James ossuary looks noticeably different from the others found in Talpiot. Additionally, several academics interviewed for the documentary later claimed their comments were taken out of context or misrepresented, raising concerns about how the film's conclusions were presented. In the end, while the Talpiot tomb offers a fascinating narrative and has sparked intense debate, most experts agree that more evidence is needed before drawing firm conclusions. The search for Jesus' tomb remains a complex journey, one that weaves together faith, science, history, and mystery. Exploring possible burial sites of Jesus. One of the biggest challenges for supporters of the Talpiot family tomb theory is geography. If Jesus and his family were from Galilee, why would they have a family tomb in Jerusalem? Archaeologist Jody Magnus highlights an important point. During Jesus' time, only wealthy Judean families typically used rock-cut tombs and later transferred the bones to ossuaries, bone boxes. For a modest family from Galilee, a simple ground burial would have been far more likely. She also notes that the names on the ossuaries found in the Talpiot tomb follow a Judean naming pattern, using the individual's first name followed by their father's name. In Galilee, people were usually identified by their hometown instead. This further suggests the tomb doesn't fit the profile of a Galilean family like Jesus's. Another well-known site proposed as Jesus' burial place is the Garden Tomb, also called Gordon's Tomb, after Charles Gordon, who promoted it in 1883. Its peaceful garden setting has made it a favorite among tourists, especially evangelical Christians who feel a deep spiritual connection to the space. However, the Garden Tomb's historical credibility is questionable. Gordon claimed Jerusalem looked like a skeleton from above, with Skull Hill as the head, an idea now widely dismissed. Adding to the confusion, amateur archaeologist Ron Wyatt falsely claimed he found the Ark of the Covenant nearby, which has been thoroughly debunked. No tombs from the Second Temple period, the era when Jesus lived, have been found in the area around the Garden Tomb. In fact, leading archaeologist Gabriel Barkay examined the tomb and determined it actually dates back to the Iron Age, around the 7th or 8th century BC. Its architectural style matches tombs from the First Temple period, like those near the Basilica of St. Stephen. This means the tomb is over 600 years older than the time of Jesus, making it highly unlikely to be the new tomb mentioned in John 19:41. For these reasons, the Garden Tomb is generally not accepted by scholars as Jesus' actual burial site. Another possible location is the Tomb of the Shroud, located in the Kidron Valley. Though its historical link to Jesus is debated, it has drawn interest because of its close proximity to the Garden of Gethsemane and its traditional connection to Joseph of Arimathea, the man who, according to the Bible, donated his tomb for Jesus' burial. Like many ancient Judean tombs, the Tomb of the Shroud is cut from rock, which fits the burial customs of that time. The tomb gets its name from a burial shroud or cloth said to have been discovered there. Some traditions associate the site with Joseph of Arimathea, strengthening the theory. But again, the archaeological evidence is limited, and experts are divided. While the site is intriguing, there's not enough proof to confirm it as the true burial place of Jesus. Exploring the mysteries of Jesus' burial sites. Though its exact significance remains uncertain, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre continues to draw pilgrims seeking a connection to Jesus' burial. It's part of a larger tapestry of sacred sites tied to Christian tradition. One lesser-known location is the Dominus Flevit Church on the Mount of Olives. Shaped like a teardrop, it marks the spot where Jesus is believed to have wept over Jerusalem. Nearby is a rock-cut tomb linked to Joseph of Arimathea, though it's not widely accepted as Jesus' actual burial site. Still, the church holds spiritual importance for many visitors. Other sites include the tomb of the Virgin Mary and various locations said to be the tomb of Joseph of Arimathea. While historical evidence is limited, these places continue to inspire faith, reflection, and curiosity, keeping the mystery of Jesus' final resting place alive. Unveiling new mysteries at Jesus' tomb. The exact location of Jesus' burial remains one of history's most captivating questions. In 2017, a major restoration began at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, believed to be the site of Jesus' crucifixion, burial, and resurrection. The focus was to stabilize the edicule, the shrine housing the tomb. During the restoration, experts uncovered a sealed chamber hidden since 1555, surprising archaeologists and sparking new debates. Though no remains or relics were found, the discovery revealed how much history still lies buried within this sacred site. This unexpected find reminded the world that even in the most studied holy places, mysteries remain, fueling the ongoing search for Jesus' true resting place. The Talpiot Tomb Mystery. Discovered in 1980 near Jerusalem, the Talpiot tomb features ossuaries inscribed with names like Jesus, son of Joseph, and Mariamen Emara, leading some to suggest it could be Jesus' family tomb. However, scholars remain divided, pointing out that these names were common in that era and interpretations vary. While the tomb hasn't been definitively linked to Jesus, it remains a fascinating part of biblical archaeology and fuels the ongoing search for his true burial site. What do you think? Could this be the tomb of Jesus? Let us know in the comments.
This is the Golden Gate. It's the east gate. It's known as the Mercy Gate to Jerusalem. As you can tell, it's been sealed up for a long, long time.
Walking up into the temple with your family, knowing that you were going to meet with God, it was the closest place to God's presence on earth.
For centuries, it has stood silent, sealed shut with stone and mystery. The Eastern Gate of Jerusalem, also called the Golden Gate or the Gate of Mercy, has remained closed for nearly 500 years. To many, it's just an ancient relic, part of the city's storied walls. But to those who study prophecy, both Christian and Jewish, it's something far more sacred. Because according to ancient texts and long-held traditions, this is the very gate the Messiah is foretold to walk through when he returns in glory. And now, something strange is happening. Whispers are spreading across the city. Dust has begun to fall. Some say the stones are shifting, ever so slightly, as if stirred by something unseen. Could this be just a natural occurrence? Or could it be a sign of something greater? Could it mean that prophecy is beginning to unfold right before our eyes? In this video, we'll take you deep into the mystery behind the sealed gate. We'll explore the prophecies, the history, and the strange events being reported today. Why was it sealed in the first place? Who ordered it closed? And why were graves placed in front of it? And the most chilling question of all, if the gate of mercy is preparing to open, what or who is coming? To understand this mystery and why the gate was sealed, we have to go back in time. In the early 1500s, Jerusalem was under the rule of the Ottoman Empire. It was an era of strength and ambition. Sultan Suleiman, known as the Magnificent for his grand architectural vision, ordered the city's walls to be rebuilt. But one decision he made still stands out. He commanded that the eastern gate be sealed. No written law explains why. No record tells us what he was thinking. But when we consider the timing and the ancient traditions of the city, a deeper reason begins to emerge. Because by then, talk of prophecy had already begun to spread through Jerusalem. People believed the Messiah would come from the east. And according to ancient Jewish teachings, he would enter the holy city through this very gate. So Sultan Suleiman had it sealed, and just to be sure it stayed closed, he had a Muslim cemetery built directly in front of it. It seemed like a very intentional move. You see, according to Jewish law, descendants of the priestly line, called Kohanim, cannot enter cemeteries without becoming ritually unclean.